So for many, many years, I've been studying the highest level paradigms in social interaction. And what this means is understanding how to meet people at an insane rate and bring people into your life in a way that is effortless, in a way that's positive, in a way that allows you to expand. In this video, what I'm going to be doing is breaking down the core fundamentals that are going to change your life in ways that you can't even imagine now. If you like this video, what I'd also love for you to do is click the link below and come to one of the free events. I actually taught this at a free event. I've got free events coming up in San Francisco, Chicago, Dallas, Houston, Austin, Boston, Washington, D.C., San Diego, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, New York City, all over the country and many other cities. I have my team doing them in Europe and all over the world. And if you can make it to an event, which is very, very sad, but if you can't, I'd also recommend that you click the link below and you jump into the mini course, which is a summary of the most powerful lessons that I would have taught you at the free event. And it's done step by step and very, very methodical. It's going to change your life. If you do it, like it's one of those things where you're like, should I click it? Should I see this course? When you see it, you're going to be like, wow, I can't believe how awesome this is. So it's going to change your life. You want to learn the best lessons that I know in social interaction? Click the link below, hop into that course. Also going to change your life. So you've got free events, you've got a free course, click the link. But in the meantime, what we're going to be doing is shooting into a video that is very, very powerful as far as going back to those original OG concepts of social success. And I'm going to lay this out to you in a way that is very, very potent, and in a way that if you actually watch it and implement it, is going to drastically change your results. So I love you very much. I hope that you enjoy it, and let's go. The very first principle that people need to understand when they come in this is stop trying to get better social results with any one individual person. Rather, make the decision to get better at meeting people in general. So this is the very first one. So a lot of the time people come into learning about social skills. Maybe they want to date somebody, they have a romantic interest. Maybe there's somebody who they want to make a sale to. They have this amazing client that they want to make a sale to. Maybe they want to get it to where they get a promotion at work. Maybe you want to get it to where you're really, really good at doing videos and you're a social media influencer or an ambassador for your brand. Maybe you're somebody who wants to get better at networking, right? There's like somebody specific who you want to get better at networking with. But for a lot of us, it's a romantic interest. And so have you ever had it where you had a romantic interest in somebody and you kept looping on them and thinking about them and obsessing over them and thinking how your life would be complete if they would be in your life? You ever had a feeling like if somebody would be in your life would feel complete? And this can even happen when you're great at meeting people. You could have 5 people who you're in, kind of casual relationships with right now. But you meet that one special person and you cannot stop thinking about them and you think that your life would be complete if they would join your life. You ever had that feeling? If you haven't, you're lying or you're a psycho. So everybody's had that. Now, what is it that you will always notice as soon as you feel that way about the person? Does it ever pan out? Does anybody here in this room, anybody, have an experience, where you became totally obsessed with somebody, think about them all the time? Maybe before you had any established relationship. Once you're in the relationship, it's amazing, right? That's the ideal. But before you had established a relationship, before you'd established intimacy, before you maybe got them as a client, but then it just panned out. All that strategizing and obsessing that you did better prepared you to attract that person or bring them in your life. You're better prepared. Anybody here, as a query to all these people, have an experience where you just got super obsessed with somebody, thought about them all the time, prepared. I'm going to say this. I wonder what that means. I'm going to ask my friends about them. I'm going to see what my friends think of this. And then it just panned out. Anybody here ever have that? You ever have it even once you're in the relationship and you just want it real? Oh, someone get it? Oh, you had it? Well, that's amazing. Okay, so we had one.
No, the opposite way.
Oh, okay, so it didn't work.
Yeah, even once in the relationship.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, super doesn't work. Yeah, no, and we've all been there, right? And even as I'm saying this now, I know a lot of you are kind of cross-referencing this with your own experiences, and you're thinking back to your own personal experience. You're like, wow, that never actually works. And by the way, this messes things up for people because what winds up happening is that couples are unhappy in many cases because they're like, I keep being with the person who doesn't want me. I keep being discarded. And you'll hear this all the time. There's always these complaints about discard. And that happens in many cases because when the person that really likes you, that would want to be with you in a meaningful way, they're turning you off. So it's actually a favor to other people to stop being so needy. You're like, no, I've got to love them more. I've got to love them more. It actually is doing, because if you can actually dial that back a little bit and breathe, you actually do a great favor to that person because you're more likely to be together, and then what winds up happening is they're happy and you're happy, but you gotta let it breathe. So ironically, when you really, really like someone, you're thinking, well, the way to show that I care is not to talk to anybody else. The way to show that I care is to be super OCD obsessed with this one person. The way to show that I care is to put all my eggs in one basket, even though we're not even together yet. The way to show that I care is to be totally committed to this one outcome. That's how I'm gonna show that I care. But in reality, what did we just see from asking this great audience of great people? Not one single person. I thought there was one. I was like, after all these years, there's one case. I'm like, my theory, I'm trying to falsify it. I'm like, tell me, falsify the theory. But what I continually experienced was that I'd really like somebody, I'd think about them a lot, I would envision future scenarios of if they say this, and I'd say this. If they say this, and I'd say this. If they do this, then I'll do this. And I'd loop and I'd think about it, and I'd feel disloyal for maybe dating or looking for other clients or making other friends or networking with other people, whatever the case may be. I'd feel guilty about that because I want to be fully committed to this one option. But what wound up happening is it doesn't pan out. I've even had it where I have very specific one-on-one clients, and I am more obsessed with their success than they are, and I start to want success for them more than they do. And inevitably, like, I could be the single most important person they've worked with in their entire life, but when I get a bit weird like that, I usually get dropped as a coach. I never get dropped as a coach when I'm just like, hey, I'm here, I got love for you, let's go, I'm gonna give a 10 out of 10 effort, but I'm not OCD about it. But as soon as I start to want the client's success more than they do, I get dropped. It's just like in my romantic life. It's like it mirrors it. Sometimes I'll have it to where, maybe somebody in a big group like this says, could I benefit from this program? And I look at them, I'm like, they're so in trouble if they don't take this program. But if I start to get obsessed with their success, they can feel that I want it. They interpret it that I'm trying to take something, but I'm not, but they feel like I am, and it actually pushes them away. So ironically, that overthinking about it, over wanting it, it doesn't get interpreted that you're like this super nice, benevolent person. It looks like you want something and you have a creepy agenda, and that's why you drive them away. And you don't give them the space to actually chase a little bit too, which is part of the fun. Look at all the fun you're having thinking about it, right? Look at all the fun you're having imagining every little thing that you're gonna say and do and all that. Isn't that fun? I mean, it's kind of crazy, but the point is kind of fun. You just stole that from them. They don't get to have that experience. So you've taken that experience from them. So ironically, what I've learned is if I really, really like somebody, go meet 10 other people. Go out. Get it to where it's not a big deal. Go meet somebody just like them. And also, here's the other thing. If you knew exactly how to meet 10 new people, would you have a problem meeting one? Imagine if you're saying, okay, I'm a baseball player, and I only want to learn how to hit the ball for Randy Johnson, that famous pitcher back. I haven't watched baseball in a lot of years, so I'm bringing it back to Randy Johnson. Okay, so he's a great pitcher back in the day. So we're in Philadelphia, Mitch Williams. Okay, remember the guy who lost to the World Series against Toronto? All right, I'm old. So Mitch Williams, but he was actually a great closer. He just had a bad game. So I only want to learn to hit from Mitch Williams. So I'm not going to take any other at-bats. I'm just going to strike out. But when Mitch Williams comes up, oh, baby, me and Mitch, we're going to have a dance. We're going to have a fun time. We're going to dance, baby, me and Mitch. Right? What would be the best thing you could do? Practice pitching, like from a machine, hit with other pitchers. You'd get so good that by the time that Randy Johnson or Mitch Williams comes, A, would you be in the best position to hit the ball properly? Yes or no? Yes. But also, would you care about hitting the ball for Mitch Williams or Randy Johnson at that point that much? Would it be that big of a deal? Would it de-emphasize the overemphasis on it? Yeah. Okay, so it makes it more normal. And look, try to think of it a little bit like the vibe that I have here as a speaker. I care a lot that every single one of you has a great time. I care a lot that every single one of you learn, but I also just wouldn't mind grabbing a steak. Does that make sense? Like, you see I'm putting in it, so I have a high intention to make you have a great time. Can you tell that right now, if I just went to get a steak, that could maybe be as good? Can you feel it? So it's weird. It's like my intention to make you have a fun time is a 10 out of 10, but yet my lack of attachment is also a 10 out of 10. So it's like you want to love the person, but also be okay to let them do their thing and not have any, heavy-duty attachments to them. So you go up and you're engaging, but unattached. Say the word engaging. Say it. Engaging. A little louder. Engaging. A little louder. Engaging. but unattached. Yeah, because you have what's called abundance. Say the word abundance. That's really all that it is. It's just bare level abundance. When you have a lot of options, when you know a lot of people, you're happy to engage, but you don't need it. Now, what happens is, do you ever feel like when you say watch me on stage or some of the earlier segments that we did, do you ever think like, because I've thought this sometimes when I'm watching stand-up comedy, say I'm watching somebody like Bill Burr, who I think is amazing. Have you ever watched me or maybe a comedian on stage and wonder how they're speaking cleanly without preparation? This is a lot of my classic content, but maybe you see me do some new content and I'm speaking unprepped. Do you ever wonder how I do that? Like, where's the superpower come from? You probably think it's just from practice. Is that correct? Would you say that is practice? It is a lot of practice. You're right, it is. But it's also additional mental resources, more mental capital, more emotional and mental bandwidth of when you don't care. As long as I don't care about any of your approval or validation, even though I like all of you and I want you to have fun, I genuinely do, but I'm not needing your validation, how much mental capital or emotional bandwidth do you think that unlocks for me to focus on my vocal projection, on my content? What do you think that's doing for me when I want to do a great job, but I'm not attached? What's that doing? It's reclaiming swagger. That's what it really is. It's pulling back all that wasted mental capital of caring too much back into me. Think of all that thinking that you do when you're obsessing over somebody. What if you just pulled it back? What if you just took it back? What if you just reclaimed it? How much energy and focus would you have? What do you think? You would have a lot of energy. So what winds up happening is when we stop being so focused on validation from other people, we're good. Look, even for me, I'm going to be real with you, okay? I went on, a pretty famous talk show this year. You guys might have seen it. And it's very, very rare that I need approval. But because I don't do it that often, I kind of wanted it to work, if I'm being honest with you. And I rarely feel this, but I think he said to me, like, what do you do at the start? And I was like, I'm like a self-help thing. And I recovered, and I came back with a pretty strong showing, and I got a lot of props on it. But believe me, like the rare time that I actually want approval, I can barely talk. So if me, after 20 years of doing this, and I'm human, the odd little time that I'm, out of my element, it's just a little bit new and I'm not used to it. If you see me shutting down, that's happening to you too. The problem is that when we so value other people's validation and approval over our own self-love and our own abundance and our own love of process and being open to many experiences, not just one person, what winds up happening is that if we stay there too long, it starts resembling a lot of social discomfort. It really does make us come across as like, socially handicapped in a major and real way. And it's very, very sad. And there's a lot of consequences to that. And it also robs you of your genius. So you have to make a commitment right now. You say to yourself, you know what, even if I really like somebody, I'm going to work on the general skill set of this. And if I work on the general skill set, then what's going to wind up happening is I'm putting the skill as the priority over the one person. Now, this is a little bit out there, and you don't even need to roll with it because you can have your own beliefs, and I respect all beliefs. But in spiritual growth, we would call this putting the creator ahead of the creation. Can you say that with me? Put the creator, say it, ahead of the creation. So what that means is that we care more about being connected to the present moment, to presence, to outflow of energy, to the creative force of life, to being in the zone, to enjoying our lives. We put more priority on that than needing approval. When you see me or other coaches up here, you're going to see many coaches this weekend, myself a lot here included. What winds up happening when you're seeing that is that we're putting more emphasis on just being in the vibe, being in the flow, having fun, and we care more about that than any one person liking the seminar or not. Not because we don't care that you like the seminar or not, but we've realized the Zen paradox that when we let go, you'll like it more. So getting that one person to like you is so much based on the Zen paradox. It's like a butterfly. When you squeeze it, it just kills it. You got to just let it be there and trust that it will be there. I've got to be able to speak to you and communicate authentically and without filter and have trust that that's my best shot, that you're going to enjoy the seminar. And that gets it to where I can lay out all this content and have all this mental bandwidth to be charismatic, to be funny, to have changes in vocal tone, to make it to engage you by not caring. As soon as I care too much, I will shut down. So understand that. So this is why we say put the general skill of being good socially in general ahead of being good socially with a specific person. Okay? So put the general skill set, say this, put the general skill set as priority over the one person. Lastly, do you really think that one person wants you to act like that? Do you think they want you to just stalk them and to obsess over them? Do you ever see that end well? That does not end well. Now, by the way, I'm going to resist saying a lot of things that I believe about this because it's just getting too far ahead, but you'll see it in other videos. But the short version of what I believe, and I'm going to resist giving the long version because then it'll just become me talking about that for 5 hours. I believe that we create our own personal hell on earth, and it is that attachment to smallness. And literally, we don't realize this. We are using that attachment to one person as a way to beat ourselves over the head. So literally what we're doing is it's a way to self-attack. I know because I've been on the other side of it. We're just being honest. I've had people so obsessed with me. And I'm like, part of me is like, wow, I'm really loved. This person really loves me. This is very validating. But I realize, no, they're not in love with me at all. They're using me as a way to beat themselves up. And I know because sometimes what happens is I decide to actually, really give them a shot. And as soon as I give them a shot, they lose interest. Because they're using me to beat themselves up. In the metaphorical sense, not real sense, right? They're doing it in the sense where they're trying to get this hard-to-get person so that way they can always be longing and never arriving, striving but never arriving. So it's literally a very, very deep spiritual pattern in my view that we do when we get obsessed with one person. And the crazy thing is, then the radio says, just believe in love, and it hypnotizes, that's my best song, and it hypnotizes you into thinking that is good. It also hypnotizes you into submission. It says if you allow your natural, what do they call that, the chutzpah, if you let that go down and you just pump yourself with these needy chemicals, then that is the way to have status, right? Submission is status. Being low status is status. Lowering your light is status. How much do you see that kind of programming in society in general? It's very, very dangerous. Very manipulative, very, very dangerous social programming to where you show how submissive you are. And that's where you'll see some people that blow back against this. They say, I only submit to one force. That's God. That's it. That spark inside of you, the tiny spark, but the creative force of the whole universe. That is who I submit to, nothing else. And that is the idea. Some people will say put God first. And again, you don't need to believe this, but just to understand the idea of it, you can translate this into atheism. But the idea of putting God first, again, you can translate this in atheism. But the idea of saying God first is saying, I'm not putting some other human ahead of myself or the approval of somebody ahead of myself or breaking my values. No, I am going to put that flow state, that connection to my higher power, that connection to the outgoing flow of life, I'm going to put that first. So if you ever see instructors up here that appear to be gaining energy from being up here, I will have it where I've done seminars on low sleep, I've done seminars on low food. You know what winds up happening when I'm up here? It forces me, because as a public speaker, you learn, and you also learn this from going clubbing and things like that too. Exact same thing, by the way. You get this exact same euphoric high from just going out to a bar and doing the exact same thing. By actually attaching to that creative flow of the universe, it feeds you. You'll find that you don't, again, you should sleep. It could hurt you. So I'm not saying don't sleep. Someone watches the video, they take in some extreme, like, I didn't sleep for a month and I just fed from the creative force of the universe, some weird thing. But I mean, I've had it. Now, this is not any medical advice by any means, ever, never, because I'm not a doctor, but I've had it to where I had food poisoning and I'm like shaking and I can't even sleep. I'm shaking on 2 hours sleep out of like the total of 8 hours, because maybe I nod in and out a little bit here or there for 10 minutes here and there. You ever have like anyone here ever had a nightmare night like that? Just like the night from hell, right? You like ate the wrong thing, that chicken that you left on the thing and you're hungry and you ate it and now you're like puking and all this stuff, right? And I've had that. And then I'll have a seminar in New York with like a huge room. Even got a couple celebrities in there that have come. I can't just skip it. Every fiber of my being is like, this is the most embarrassing, humiliating thing. I can't skip this. And I'll literally walk up on stage, twitching and feeling like I'm gonna puke. And then I get on stage and it just goes away. It just goes away. I crush it and then it's gone. I don't have a medical explanation for that. To me, it's a spiritual explanation. I'm not telling you to go do that. I'm not saying anything crazy like, if you got food poisoning, just ignore it and just do a speech, right? Or hit the club, baby. I'm not even saying that. But you ever just been trapped in your mind in some really crazy way, and then you just go out and just share positive vibes, or maybe you help a friend, or maybe you do some charity, and all that negative energy just goes away. It just vanishes. They say that the greatest joy in life is giving. Why? Because it takes you away from that need of the little me, and it allows you to connect to the outflowing energy of life. And it's very cleansing, and it's very beautiful, and the need for an individual person takes you away from that, doesn't it? And so that's where you've got to reconnect to that. So when you say, you know what, if you want to meet that one person, go meet people in general, that doesn't mean, oh, you're betraying them as you might feel in your imagination. In fact, you're being the best version of yourself, and you're giving them the space to decide what they want to think of you on their own. So that's actually the best thing that you can ever do. Now here's the irony though. The truth is that by the time that you go out and you get better socially, you're not even going to really be very focused at all on that person that drove you to it. They were the fire starter, not the blaze. And you're going to see that. I have never seen somebody who's obsessed with someone work on their social skills and then like a year later be like, it's still about them. It's still them, and it was always them. No, they're like, what was I thinking? Like, it's like they came out of a trance. They're like, what was I thinking? That was crazy. Thank God I pulled out of this. Thank you for telling me. That's why people come up to me on the street. They're in tears. This one basic thing. But the weird thing is, someone has to be ready for it. And this is why I believe it's spiritual. You can share this insight to so many people, and it's something that's very high paradigm, and they can't even hear it. You tell them this, they don't want to hear it. No, Mary, no, Mary, no, Mary. Or no, Fred, Fred, Fred. It's all this halo effect. They built this halo around the person. It's all about Fred. If I have to do this to get Fred, I'll do it. Because it's all about Fred, right? And I've just chosen the name Fred, just random name, right? So it's like, it's my whole life is dedicated to Fred. I am nothing without Fred. What am I without Fred? It's about love. Are you against love? Are you saying to be some bad player and not care about love? No, I'm saying you're creeping them out. You're being weird, it's not comfortable, and you gotta stop. That's basically what I'm saying, you gotta stop. So that's the first lesson is realize that when you just make the skill first, you're actually entering into a higher paradigm. High-level paradigm ideas come from ease. Ease, where you're doing less but accomplishing more. Doing less but accomplishing more. Read the book, The Tao Te Ching. Read the Bible. Doing less but accomplishing more. What Jesus is talking about in the Bible is metaphors for this, in my opinion. So doing less, accomplishing more, and ease. It is easier, believe it or not, to just say, you know what? I'm going to go learn a bunch of social skills. It is easier to do that than it is to obsess over one person over and over. Now here, what's that? There's a lot. There's books like the Bible, which is my favorite, but a lot of like some of like Kabbalion is sort of a like an occultish type book, but a lot of the same general themes of abundance and raising your mood and attaching to the creation. So same ideas, right? A lot of people, they go in like kind of a tribe, like my book's the good one, every other book's the bad one. And unfortunately, I can't, there's a lot of people where I'll say, oh, I really like this one book, and then they'll be excited, but then they see me like another book too, and then they hate me. So just kind of funny how that is, right? And they're like, it's not that I hate you, but it says this, and you're gonna burn. And I'm just like, and I'm just warning you. And I'm like, all right, well, the whole idea in the Bible is railing against performative spirituality. That's the whole concept of Jesus in the Bible, is railing against performative spirituality, looking good and virtue signaling rather than being good. That's the whole point. That was the message, but okay. So let's keep going. Now what you have is the next idea, which is that your looks and your money are not nearly as important as you think. And what this is, it's also, in my view, a spiritual insight. Now, this is something that people struggle with to understand so much. They misquote it. They make it to be something that I'm not saying. They cut it out of context. They straw man it rather than steel manning it. Okay, what is a straw man? What's a straw man? Anyone know?
Making a caricature of something you oppose. So
Yes. It's basically attacking a weakened version, right? So they'll say, well, look at this. On Bumble, when you look better, the response is higher. Yeah, I get that. I'm not on Bumble. I'll never be on Bumble. And I'm not against it. It's just not for me. And I never said that it doesn't get you a better response on Bumble. Or they'll be like, well, look, I walk down the street with like these two photos. And they'll even do it with my photo. and I asked all these people who they'd want to date more. Well, look, it makes a difference. Look at these examples of like this person who's really good looking. Look at all the attraction. Right? And they'll cartoonify it to where they will put pictures of someone who's just naturally really good looking, and they'll be like, are you really dumb enough to believe that this isn't what caused it? Are you naive? Are you gullible? Are you dumb? And then the big argument that they'll say is they'll say, Owen says this because he wants to teach you a program about why you don't need looks. But guess what? They win. You're right. Got me. They win. I take it back. I got a new program. You need to be a multi-millionaire. You need to have a six-pack. You need to be able to eat a planet like Thanos. You just need to be Thanos and eat a planet. So I bring in my good buddy Ty Lopez. He's going to teach you how to make cash. And I'm going to take a big cut. I'm bringing in my homeboy Brandon Carter, Elliot Holtz, and they're going to teach you how to get jacked. And I'm taking a big cut. You need everything. You need to learn how to play poker if you want to date somebody. I'm bringing my poker coach. You need to know how to do a cartwheel. You can't meet someone if you don't know how to do a cartwheel. I'm bringing my gym coach. You need a car. I'm bringing in a car buying coach. You need everything. Okay, you win. All that happens when I say that your looks don't matter or money doesn't matter, I'm not saying it can't help, but I'm saying that you can easily overcome it, and that is not what drives attraction in the way that you think. It's more about emotions, frames, validation, and I'll go deeper. I'm making it a bigger stretch for people to get on board for. It actually makes it harder to relate. It hurts my sales. I make less money. I get in more arguments. It just makes problems. It makes it harder to believe, less money. I mean, that's probably what drove me to want to post real-life interactions for a long time. And now, now that that's not the case anymore, I kind of just got sick of arguing about it. So I'll bring this up like maybe once every year and a half or something, and just let y'all know, yeah, it still doesn't matter. But I'm sick of arguing about it. If you want to, look, here's the bottom line. If you want to believe it matters and you want to go get a bunch of plastic surgery and chop your legs and extend them, go do it. I don't care. I mean, I kind of do care. I feel bad for any human mutilating themselves. But if that's the case, fine. If you want to never leave your house and just be super negative and think that's how the world is, that's up to you. That's fine. But I would love to see somebody just, rather than saying it's all about their looks or money, try going out for a weekend and actually just saying hi to people. And why don't you go see what happens? Why don't you just go try it? And you'll notice that it's very, very rare that anybody will ever post detailed accounts of what they tried. It's always the reason that they felt they shouldn't try. Or maybe they tried a little bit, but to me it's a joke. It's a joke. So at a certain point, I don't really know what to say. I went out for 20 years. I did this again and again. It's very public who I've dated. I mean, what more do you really want me to do? Like, what more can I show you at this point? So do you want me to just lie and say, no, I could never figure it out because I'm a balding ginger leprechaun and I'll never meet anybody in my life? What do you want me to say at a certain point? So it is a much more lucrative, better, easier life for me to say that, yes, it matters, and I'm going to bring in 50 coaches for every single thing. Now, by the way, I'll still bring in 50 coaches for everything. I want to be clear about that. I'm not just going to BS you and say that you're never going to meet a significant other unless you have 50 coaches. I'll say, if you want to take programs with 50 coaches for your own fun, I'll do that because I'm a businessman. But I don't need to BS it and say that you need all this stuff just to meet somebody. And you'll notice, there's sometimes you'll see coaches that have all this stuff. And then they say, well, of course I'm successful because I have all this stuff. But then they never even really tried. They didn't painstakingly go out with people that didn't have that stuff and try and see what happens. They haven't tested their thesis. They haven't tried to falsify their data. But when I'm going out every single weekend, often 50 weekends a year, and coaching people that are short or funny looking or bald, and I'm seeing the result, I can only report back what I see. Now, I'm not stuck on this, but there is a practical reason that I think it's very, very important that you get this down. And by the way, for any coach that says that you have to be good looking, what I'd ask to them is like, you really couldn't do what you do if you got transferred in somebody else's, in like a short person's body. Like, you're that weak, you're that incompetent, you're that ineffective, you're that whack, you're that freaking whack, you're that low on swag, you have such little swagger that you couldn't do it if you're put in somebody else's body. Really. That's it? See, understand that at a base level, what is the lowest kind of form of spiritual growth? It's being at the effect. Being at the effect. Repeat that after me. Being at the effect. Right? So when you talk to somebody, say someone homeless on the street, what are they going to tell you? It's very sad. There's mental illness involved too. But it's an interesting question of what comes first, the chicken or the egg. It creates mental illness to feel at the effect. What are we seeing in a lot of the communist uprising that we're seeing in this country? What is the basic message of it? What is the basic underlying message when people are fueling communism?
You're a victim.
You're a victim. You're at the effect.
Safetyism.
Safety. You are at the effect. You can't control this. It's not your fault. Now, by the way, I like a lot of the messages of the left wing, a lot. They've got a lot of good stuff to say. There is a lot of bad stuff that happens. They are spot on. But why do they de-emphasize that you can also take action? So I like recognizing areas that you might be having a hard time. Why not recognize it? Why not admit it? That's fine. I came into this with light level autism. I can admit it. I made videos. I was a hard case newbie. It's weird. I make videos about this. Some people pick them apart. Again, they straw man argument. All that I'll say in some videos, I say if you're a really hard case, you have severe depression, extreme level social anxiety, you're twitchy, you're weird, kind of like how I've come up. I'm just like a hyper nitro version of it, if you look at me. Then take a little more time, but still hustle. In other words, if you came up and if you're severely traumatized, severely under social anxiety, and you're coming from a really, really hard case, and your friend, you guys saw Dylan here earlier, maybe you had parents that raised them with massive, total, beaming confidence, and you take a little bit longer, don't just beat yourself up and quit. But still go out every day, still work on it, still have a high standard. Just don't attack yourself. Because if you start attacking yourself, that's bad. You can recognize where you could be at a disadvantage without attacking yourself and without making excuses and still holding yourself to the highest standard. So understand, I've never gone into social interaction feeling at a deficit. I don't go out with somebody taller than me and think that they're gonna have more social success than me. If my friend has a square cut face, I don't just give up and say, well, they have a square cut face. Is that what they call it? I don't know what they call these, right? Square jaw or whatever, right? It's the Giga Chad. Oh, poor me. If I'm up here in front of an audience with my Giga Chad friend, I don't just sit there and bow down and get on my knees and worship them. Just jam it in my mouth and say, oh, the Giga Chad. Oh, art thou Giga Chad? I am your lesser. I have nothing to offer. Let me bow down, Mr. Giga Chad. I am nothing. I am a joke. What chance do I have, little old me? Is that what I'm doing? No, I'm just gonna be myself. I'm gonna come up and offer what I have to offer. There's better speakers, there's less good speakers. I'm gonna do my thing. It's not about comparing. So when you're out there, understand that do your thing, do you. It's not about comparing. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's journey is specific to them. Take that journey. Also realize the driver of social attraction is not just you either got it or you don't. You either got it or you don't. They'll try to frame it like it's this sort of stagnant thing that you have or you do not have. And it's not the case. Now you're gonna find examples of people that have all the stereotypes, things that you wish you had, and it's gonna make you start to beat yourself up. But what happens when every time that you're in a social interaction doesn't go well, and then you let yourself off the hook? It's like if you run a business in a recession, and then you're losing money, even though there's people making millions, myself included, in a recession, and then what winds up happening, you say, oh, it's not my fault I don't make millions, I'm in a recession. But now it's skewing your metrics. You can't even evaluate what you're doing right or wrong because you're making an excuse. How could I make money in a recession? Well, the most millionaires and billionaires are made in a recession. Yeah, but it's recession, I can't do it. No, you can recognize it's tougher in a recession, and yet you gotta win anyway. I recognize I have light level autism and suicidal depression, I gotta win anyway. I just said, well, that's an advantage. Why would having light level autism and being suicidally depressed be an advantage in this potentially? What could it be? Maybe, what's for me? I don't know, I can't speak for everybody. What would it be?
Well, I mean, it's given me, because I'm also autistic, I have like a really weird perspective on that kind of thing.
Yeah, give the quick version.
Well, it's like, I mean, when you're a hard case, it's almost like you're speaking a different language as everybody. But when you're advanced, it's almost like certain parts of your brain come in to take over for the parts that are deficient. So you're accomplishing the same goal, but using like a different method.
Yeah, let me ask you this. How much did it drive you harder?
Way harder, because I realized how much more I could do. It's like you go from being someone who can't even talk to being able to talk well, and then you're like, wait, what the fuck else can I do? And then you're also like, what the fuck else can my friends do?
That's the thing. And also, did it make you feel urgency to get better faster?
Yeah.
So they say the enemy of the best is the good. Sounds like that partially resonates. And the enemy of the best is the good. What I view it like people that have natural social skills are at a major disadvantage because in the long run, they don't have the urgency. It's like a rich kid has a disadvantage with money in some cases because they get hooked on drugs, right? I knew that with me having a business, that I would have to take Dylan into the scariest skills or the scariest hikes or put him on stage or make things hard because I knew that he was at a disadvantage. And I wasn't going to be able to replicate the challenges that I had. You can't replicate that. It's also not safe, even some of the challenges I've had. So I have to get it to the point, and I guess the other things I'm doing aren't the safest either, but I want to do so in a controlled environment, a controlled way. I'm not just going to throw him to the wolves and say, like what happened. I was out of my house at 15. I don't want to replicate that. So you are at an advantage when things are harder because it creates urgency. It doesn't matter that you in theory have it easier. The fact that you have urgency and mental focus on it is actually an advantage. But also understand that attraction is occurring due to framing. It is occurring due to emotions. It's occurring due to status dynamics. It's occurring very much due to validation and approval. Physical is a component of it. If you don't have the physical, you get around it. You jack up the other ones. Money is a component, but the truth is it also confuses the conversation. Are you a provider or someone to have fun with right now? Are you someone being used? I have it to where people I know, many of the women I know, they work at high-end poker games in LA with the richest people in LA. And those guys are stuck on prostitutes. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with this whole subworld, but there might be one or two people, or maybe on a video, that literally would see this and be like, he knows. Like, you ever see the new Batman where that girl's like in the basement with all the new one with the Twilight guy, right? Edward, what's his name? Edward Cullen? No, what's his real name? Robert Pattinson, right? And remember the girl is in the basement with all the corrupted officials? Do you guys know, and this is part of why I rant about this, that during lockdown, I knew girls that were working poker games where the heads of the municipal government from LA were there, not using any masks, rubbing all over each other, hooking up with prostitutes, doing cocaine. These are your politicians. And I know, and for real, by the way, for real. Yeah. The actors that promote a lot of certain causes, they're there. Crazy. Rules for you, not for them. And so those guys that are rich are getting used so bad. Because a lot of the girls that I know there, their friends are just prostitutes. They're just buying hookers. That's it. So you've got to say to yourself, how can I build a real social skill set? What is frame control? What is emotions? What is validation? What is logistics? What is social media? What is throwing small parties or container events? What does it mean to meet new people? How do I meet new people? And what does it mean to build a skill set? If you keep talking to somebody and all that you're thinking is, I'm this sort of unit and this is just what I am, and then I have no control, I'm only at the effect, then you're not going to take the actual action. It's like saying in your business that you're not in control. Well, now you're not going to do marketing, you're not going to do sales, you're not going to build a product, you're not going to take the action. So this whole looks at money thing is a great way to make an excuse not to meet new people. It's an excuse not to take action. It's an excuse to misunderstand. It's an excuse not to truly understand how to do this. It's an excuse for everything. So believe whatever you want, and I'm not going to argue about it because it's very, very annoying, but because these exact same people, I'm like, okay, cool, let's go out then. Let's go out right now. No. Let's go down. No. Well, then why do you keep saying this? It's a way to beat yourself over the head. Same as being attached to one person, isn't it? It's yet another way to live in your own personal living hell. So looks at money, while they could have an influence, are not the ultimate decider at all. Just like there's people that built huge businesses, same thing. And it skews your results. You can't even look at your results when you're focused on this, and you don't even know what attraction or social skills are when you are too focused on this. So the basic principle, and let's go on the next one, think about social buildup of positive energy or attraction as a volume knob, not as a light switch. Okay, repeat after me. Volume knob, say that loud. Volume knob. Again. Volume knob. Again. Volume knob. Again. Volume knob. And not what? Just throwing you off there. Not what? Not what? Well, then what is it? Well, then what is it? It's not what? Okay, I'm just trying to hammer you this to make you remember it, okay? So just remember that. So the volume knob is when you turn up the emotions, the validation, the way you're using your sub-communication, your body language, and your voice, et cetera, et cetera. That's how you switch and turn, that's how you turn up the volume knob. And as you're doing better things, then that volume knob goes up, and as you do worse things, that volume knob goes down. And you'll see this happening in real time. Someone's getting more into you, more into you, more into you. Their eyes light up like Bambi or like an anime character. Then you do the wrong things, and then you see them withdraw. And you want to be aware of that. And you don't want to bug them if you did the wrong thing and they withdraw. You actually say, have a great night or have a great day. And you're going to see this happening in real time. It actually happens in relationships too, by the way. It also happens in relationships. It's just that ideally in a relationship, you have enough good things that you've done that if you do something bad, it doesn't kill all that because you have years of good things. But in a new interaction where the person doesn't know you yet, then what winds up happening inevitably is they know so little about you that when you do the bad things, they often walk off. You ever have where you talk to someone at a bar or club, it's going really well, you get a little bit needy, or you chase approval a little bit, and they get bored of you, or you're a little too boring, they just literally walk off, they don't even say bye. You ever see that? That's because you turn down the volume knob. Right? They go from you're awesome to walking off if you messed up. You're going to see this and you're going to learn. And then the key is, if you're sitting there and you're going, it's because I wasn't good looking enough. They were super into me for 8 minutes, but in the 9th minute, they weren't into me because I acted weird, but it's because I don't look good enough. And you're not able to self-assess. So remember we said it's about building a skill set, not chasing one person. You can see why. It's this self-assessment that makes all the difference. This is everything. The self-assessment is everything. So I'm going to teach you the exact things to do to turn up the volume knob and to also be aware what things to avoid that turn down the volume knob. And you got to be aware of that. We'll be going into that. We'll be going into that in great depth. So a lot of foundational principles here. The next one, and this one is kind of funny. What I want you to do is realize that you want to be the chosen one.
This was yours.
Oh, thank you. You want to be the chosen one. What do I mean by that? People have a double standard. People just have a double standard. Have you ever had it where maybe you're at work and you think that you should get a promotion and you did all the work, but somebody else gets a promotion? You ever had that experience? It's not a very nice experience. Okay, it's not very nice. I've seen this in business. For example, I've seen it in public speaking where, maybe I have someone who's a coach that works with me, and they'll go and they'll do a presentation, and they're talking to somebody about maybe joining a program. And the person says to them, I don't have the money. And then the next day, a different coach comes who's a bit more skilled, and then that person signs up with a different coach. And they'll come back and say, I swore that guy was telling the truth when he said he didn't have any money. Nah. You didn't have the value. You just didn't have the value. If you had the value, they'd go for it. You didn't have the value. Right? And so they said they didn't have the money. It's real. It's true. They didn't have the money for who? For you. Now, that doesn't mean you need to take it personal or start flipping out on somebody, right? But it's just the truth. Look, if you're on fire right now, what would you pay for a bucket of water? That's just life. It's the principle of sales. But in the same way, if I could give you, like a flying unicorn that just flies you around the planet, and if I also gave you, like laser eye beams that you could walk through walls, would you be able to come up with, 10 times more money than you normally could? You probably could. So that's the point, is that you've got to work on elevating your value to where you get a different response than other people do. Now, how do you do this? Well, there's a lot of ways, and we're going to go in great depth, but one of them is what I said earlier. You've got to reclaim all that swag. And what that means is when you're not obsessing, this brings it back to the earlier principles, when you're not obsessing over that one person, it actually re-energizes you. It gives you more mental capital, emotional capital. It basically gives you more swagger. See, people who obsess over other people who care too much about approval, people who are always chasing validation, they're actually being emotionally leached. Say the word emotionally leached. Emotionally leached. Okay, so the whole shtick, okay, my whole little secret trick, the whole little shtick of me being up here in front of all you is I've got to the point that I enjoy just speaking more than being worried about your validation. I worry about your validation 5 to 10% at the highest, maybe 0, maybe 1. Probably at different points in the seminar, it'll be 0, and then the highest would be like 10%. Usually right when I come in, I get a bit like that. I'm like, man, I hope this goes good. What if it sucks? I get a bit like that, right? And you probably saw that. I had less energy when I got here. I had less swag when I got here. But that's kind of weird, because if I've been up on stage for hours and hours, shouldn't I be tired? No. And the reason why is because when you actually get into the flow and you get into momentum, what happens is you start to enjoy it so much that you stop caring what people think and you get more energy. We get leached of energy and potency by caring too much about validation or what people think. We should be aware of what people think and not make them uncomfortable, but we shouldn't be chasing their validation and approval in a needy and empty way. So the idea of swag, in many ways, what is swag? Right? Just a colloquial expression, like a funny expression. But what it really is like, I'm so unfazed by your validation or approval. Again, I don't want to make someone uncomfortable, but I'm unfazed by the need for your approval to the point that I have energy to spare. That's where swagger comes from. You've reclaimed it. So see, the problem is when you get obsessed with one person, you're losing your swag. You're sacrificing your swag. And so what winds up happening, here's what's kind of funny, okay? If you wanted to, I want you to imagine this like a tornado, like a vortex of a tornado, like the eye of a tornado. You'll get to the point where when you stop worrying so much about any one person liking you, and you just start getting into your flow, and you start to enjoy the process itself of meeting new people, you get so much energy that you have swag to spare. And then what happens is that people start to like you. And what happens then? Then you have all these new clients. Maybe you make a new social media profile that you get a lot of attention for. Maybe you get a promotion at work. Maybe you network into higher level groups. Maybe you start dating better people. Well, now all of a sudden, you have reversed before, the energetic flow was one of need. What did you call that energetic flow of need, by the way? What did you label that as due to false social conditioning? You thought that was love. You mislabel the need as love because of social conditioning, trapping you in a jail. So what winds up happening is that when you reverse that and you're getting your energy from outflow by loving the process, which is one of the great principles in the Bhagavad Gita, love the process, the Tao Te Ching. It is alluded to less directly in the Bible, but very much the same in my view. That's my favorite. Then from there, what winds up happening is that there's an outflow of energy, but guess what also happens? Then all these people start to like you as well. And then it's like a cup. And that's what they say in the Bible, the cup runneth over. There's also a great quote in the Bible, to everyone who has, more will be given. He who has not, even that which he has will be taken away. Does it even say the word abundance right in the quote? Yep. What's it say? He will have abundance? He will have abundance. Well, there you go. Right from the source. Okay? So the idea of abundance is that you go into this flow where you've stopped needing things, then you start projecting energy out, you get more energy. So imagine me right now, if I'm up here, I'm getting energy from talking to you. Then it looks crazy, right? Because do you ever feel this vibe when I'm up here, like, how is he doing that specifically? Do you ever wonder that? You should. Whenever I'd see great speakers when I'm younger, or comedians, like high-level stand-up comedians, I'm like, how do they just stand up there? It's like energy just seems to be buzzing off of them. They have this like kind of superhuman vibe. Where does that come from? It's weird. How do I get that vibe? That's what I want to know. It's that you have to shift it to where you're fulfilled and the energy goes out. But then ironically, say that I'm sitting here and I'm sharing great energy, but then all of you are also enjoying it too. Well, now what's happened to my energy? It's a high. Why do you think I do free events? Because I'm getting high. People are like, you ever tried drugs? I'm like, you ever tried doing a free event? You see what happened with my son when his first time ever up here speaking? Did you see that? He's like, that was awesome. I've got to take him out of the room. He just wants to only come up now. He's just going to want to run the whole seminar. He's getting high. He's blasted off his face. And I've had him in the zone for 10 years. This kid came out of the womb in the zone. He's been in the zone for 10 years. My kids are so in the zone, it's crazy. They don't even know what planet they're on. They think the world is awesome. All they know is their dad walks down the street getting given props. We have multiple houses, giant mansion, go traveling all over the place. We're skiing, we're in nature. People are coming up giving him props. I'm never in a bad mood in front of him, ever. I'm just pumping him up, and we're just killing it. That's all that he knows. He literally just came out of the womb, he's just winning. You know, he's like, this is awesome. My kids have this look where they're like this, because they're just winning, okay? Because I did that because I realized that I would never be able, I was at a milestone at 15. Like I said, in and out by 15, and I was fully out by 17. I understood that I was not willing to put my child in those like crazy situations. I mean, he's put in a lot of really crazy, I'm hoping to go skydiving with him coming up, but the point is that's controlled. There's a place in Colorado that lets kids go skydiving. It's controlled and it's tandem, okay, it's legal. So, I'll put him in a situation like that, and I make sure that he understands not to be a coward, but I want him in the zone, okay? And so it's the kind of thing where, and if you look at my son Tristan, it's like he's still in heaven. I swear that's what it looks like. It's like he never left heaven. He goes around, he just sings and dances all day and laughs. He's like a comedian. You got to meet him. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like it in my life. You should see in his pupils. You'll see this right in the pupils. By the way, what's in the Bible? Sermon on the Mount. It talks about the eyes. Okay? What's that? The light of the soul is in the eyes. Okay? Lamp shouldn't be hidden beneath a bowl. And this is things that you need to start to look at. I've got great content on eye contact and eyes and where it's coming from. I'll be putting that out soon. Really proud of it, actually. Really, really proud of that. So the idea being is that with that internal fulfillment, other people like you, and then that winds up getting you even more fulfillment, but you don't need it because you have a strong foundation. So that is also something that will turn up that volume knob, by the way. That helps a lot. But let's be real. The challenge is the hungry don't get fed. But really, as great as what I'm telling you is, what am I really telling you? I'm basically saying that if you're super hungry and we go for dinner, fake that you're full and I'll give you a steak. So what I'm saying is great in theory, and it makes sense. You're probably right until I said this, you're like, I get it. I know what I have to do. And I'm like, yeah, but it's harder than you think. Because what happens is that it's like, you've had it, you meet somebody and you want to look like you don't care and you want to look like you're in the zone and all that great stuff, but it's hard, right? Look, it's hard for me. If I come out of a relationship and then I'm out and, I haven't had any kind of like physical contact in like a couple weeks and I'm meeting somebody, I'm the first person that's like, right? Like, I don't even know what's happening because I've had no intimacy and I'm lonely. So what you have to do at an ultimate level is you've got to slowly turn the tide, slowly and then quickly, okay? And so gradually make haste, we would say. Same as a hard case newbie. Gradually make haste. In other words, make haste as much as you can, get the result as fast as you can, get the result with passion and focus, but don't be hard on yourself if you've just come out of a brutal breakup or if you're somebody who's deeply traumatized or has deep social anxiety. Don't attack yourself because then it's just even slower. But still have high standards and gradually make haste. So, knowing this, so much of social success is based around it, and you want to gradually do it. How can you do that? What are some ways of doing that? It could be celebrating small wins. It could be looking at your beliefs. It could be looking at your physiology. It could be creating passions outside of other people's approval. You fight against it. Okay, and I'll show you everything about that. I'm actually dusting off the OG principles of social skills here. I don't teach these often, but I assume that people know this. And so I go on crazy rants about spiritual stuff because I forget that not everybody knows this. So I want to lay this out in a comprehensive way, principle by principle. So the idea being is what you want to do is you want to be that chosen one. The swag comes from when you carry yourself at this high level, and what happens is this, okay? Here's what happens. When you are the chosen one, you're just that person that good things happen for. It is normal that you get the promotion. It is normal that you get invited to that amazing party. It is normal that high-level people want to date you. It is normal that people want to be your friend. It is normal that you make millions of bucks because people want to do business with you. That's normal. You've normalized it. But see, understand that people put each other in different categories. There's the rule and the exception to the rule. There's the person who you would kind of, you'd want them to put on a song and dance. You'd want them to jump through hoops. And then there's that person where you throw the hoop on the ground and you jump over to them. And so every single person has it to where, on one level, you have your usual expectations, right? If I told you right now, do you want to run across Philadelphia right now? You'd say no. What would it take to get you to run across Philadelphia, though? And go in your mind and really think about that. Would it be that you'd instantly snap your fingers and have your dream business? Then would you run? You're like, I'm not running. No way. But what if it was worth it? What if it was a rare opportunity? And so this is the basic frame of the chosen one. And write this down. It sounds subtle, write it down. It sounds subtle. It's so subtle you'll overlook it. It is so subtle you'll overlook it. You need to think about this for a month. Here's what it is. Repeat after me. You are an opportunity, not a sale. Write that down. It's an opportunity, not a sale. As soon as there is an opportunity, okay, as long as it's an opportunity, the buyer-seller dynamic is in your favor, people jump and claw. This whole little expectation of you to do a song and dance, they're not going to do that because it's opportunity. The rules are different when it's an opportunity than when it's a sale. The truth is, you want to do great in business, it's all based on what's called an irresistible offer. It is an offer where the person that you're offering it to benefits more than you. An irresistible offer. Literally, they benefit more than you. You find something they really need, and you don't. And then you get in that same vortex in business where everybody's throwing money at you, but you don't even want the money. That's the strongest place to be in business. Same thing in social skills, same thing in networking, same thing in dating. It's an opportunity, not a sale. This is where you turn the tide in your favor by having passions, by having hobbies, by having other things that put you in a flow, by having charity, by helping others. The mere act of helping others can reverse that energetic flow. Why do you think in the Bible there's so much emphasis around giving? Now, by the way, I'm going to teach you a lesson in critical thinking. You want to learn a lesson in critical thinking? What's a great way to control people? Shame. And that's why a lot of people hate the Bible, because it was used to shame. Are you not giving? Oh, you care about yourself? God forbid. Shame, shame, shame. And Ayn Rand covers this in Atlas Shrugged, The Fountainhead. She's against that kind of ideology. She's attacking the straw man version of it. But that said, as much as the straw man version of it, a lot of parents, a lot of preachers, a lot of teachers, a lot of people in authority use shame. Oh, you cared about your dreams? And that's why Ayn Rand, she's trying to say it's okay to be selfish. That's why she called it objectivist philosophy. It's okay to be selfish, because you're being shamed into not valuing your own life. That's wrong. Your life is very valuable, and you absolutely have the right to do things for yourself. But the problem is that when you look at life as benefiting for you, the problem is you can become so small spiritually and psychologically, it doesn't benefit you. Like, I care that I get that one person. Why do I need to give? Why do I need to go to a bar and club and make 50 other people have fun when I could just focus on the person that I want? My desire has value. Yeah, but you're creepy. You're making it hard. You're creating something called self-generated resistance. Repeat that word. Self-generated? Resistance. Say it again. Self-generated? Resistance. Again. Self-generated? Resistance. So you're like, no, I'm going to get that one person. I'm not just going to give into the creative flow of the universe and make 10 other people have fun. I'm going to get them because my wants are valid. And that's my authentic truth. My authentic truth is I don't want to make 10 other people have fun. Well, your authentic truth is you're small. Your authentic truth is you're a taker. Your authentic truth is you want to win-lose. So what happens energetically is that when you start to help others or start to give good social energy, is it helps you. Look, I'm doing a great event here. I'm having fun. But it's meant to be that you're all going to benefit, right? But me up here giving, what is that doing to me? Look, guys, I grew up with a lot of neurosis. I grew up with a lot of depression. I grew up with a lot of self-attack. I grew up with a lot of voices in my head attacking me again and again, telling me that I should die. My cousin Dylan, commits suicide. I have other friends that have committed suicide. And I want to bring them back and say, it's just a lie. It's a lie. It's just, you're in a hallucination. Smack, wake up. And I could snap them out of it probably in 5 minutes with these kind of ideas, not for everybody, deep mental illness, but many I could. Not everybody, I'm not a doctor or psychiatrist, but many I could. But, once they off themselves, I can't bring them back. There's no coming back from that. You can't unscramble a scrambled egg. If I had my cousin Dylan here now, I could literally say, hey, buddy, let's just go kick it. And he'd be laughing and having fun. But once he ends it and he left his 2 children and his wife, I can't bring him back. But, suicide's the most extreme version. But just because you avoided suicide doesn't mean that you're not suffering. It doesn't mean that you're not dealing with your own personal demons. I'm sure you are, right? So, there's other levels of suffering. And that self-attack is suffering. Being obsessed with one person is suffering. Feeling crap about your looks and money is suffering, even though you should do things to improve them, sure. But it's suffering. So the main idea being is that you shift the energy. And you're that chosen one because you now are like the sun. You're offering so much value. You will feel directly when you're talking to somebody, when you're energetically having outflow, they love it. Not in every case, and you're gonna have ups and downs. Remember I said earlier, like as an example, earlier in the seminar, if I went out to a bar or club, I probably wouldn't be getting good responses. So I get into a flow. Then if I went out like this, I probably would be more likely to get a good response. You get me out here like this, I'm all talking to y'all, I'm gonna go to the bar or club, and I'm gonna keep talking to everybody there too. I'm gonna have a great night. But notice that people that bemoan their looks and money could never come up here up front. We already saw that from some of the earlier segments, what people deal with. And that was what y'all were dealing with coaching still, and my kid yelling at you. So, but imagine if you didn't even have that kind of coaching, right? And you're just trying to figure it out by yourself in your lonely world. Well, what's the logical answer? You're not tall enough. Attack yourself. You're crap, you're nothing, et cetera, et cetera. And then you go crazy. And then the demons start attacking you in your head. Some people off themselves, other people just feel depressed. Where do they go to get help? It's crazy. It's sad. So now, the basic idea is that as the chosen one, you offer so much value that you are an opportunity, not a sale. And so you're playing from a different standpoint. You're coming at that situation in a different standpoint. You're walking into a room not feeling the need to self-qualify to people, but rather to project energy outward as an expression of your inner abundance, which then manifests into external abundance. This is where ideas like law of attraction or a lot of different spiritual concepts are real. Those also are some of the most damaging ideas that you'll ever see because it makes people think that they can just manifest a parking spot. It's very egocentric. It's very excuse not to work. So there's pros and cons to it. That kind of mentality has pros and cons. So the next thing to understand, okay, from this kind of chosen one paradigm, the best frame that I'd put it, I call it the victory lap frame. Write that down. Nipsey Hussle, I met Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey Hussle did a album for $100, internet marketing style. And he got that idea from a restaurant out here in Philadelphia called Barclays, I think it was, that had a $100 Philly cheesesteak as like a super high-end ticket item. And he did that actually after I met him at Boston Nova in LA. And we were chatting about marketing books. And so it was cool to meet him. And so we're out here in Philly, funny enough. Well, what was Nipsey Hussle's album called, that great album? It's called Victory Lap. I'm not sure if Nipsey did that from our conversation or not. He's a great, smart person. But we were chatting about marketing. It was great. And by the way, I just saw him at Boston Nova, and I went and sat down with him. We had a great dinner. It was fun. That's the kind of cool stuff I'm talking about here. R.I.P. Great guy. So, victory lap frame. Say that in memory of Nipsey Hussle. Say that. Victory lap. In other words, when you're out there, you're just doing a victory lap. That's how I feel here. I don't have anything to prove to you. I'm just here doing a victory lap. I've already won. Repeat that after me. I've already won. I've already won. I've already won. Great. You've already won. Victory lap. Chosen one. But here's the next principle. The biggest thing that will prevent people from wanting to move forward with you more quickly is judgment. And the fear that they feel that their asking price is being reduced. So let's say right now that let's say you have an orange stand. And you've got like hundreds of oranges. And you charge $5 for orange juice. And then you meet someone that has so much value to you that you want them to feel good, and you're like, I want to give them 100 oranges. Now, everybody there is paying you and paying your bills by what? By spending $5 for one orange of orange juice, or 2 oranges of orange juice, whatever, right? But you meet somebody so special that you want to give 100 oranges. What's your fear about giving them the 100 oranges? You've met the chosen one. What's your fear? That the people that pay your bills will see you doing it. And it's gonna mess up your asking price. Because if you make $5 a glass for orange juice, but then you meet the chosen one, you feel compelled because they have so much value to give them 100 oranges, what's your fear? What's your greatest fear? Lowering your asking price. Judgment. Publicizing it. The publicity that that's what you do. Why give him $5 for orange juice? He just gave away 100. I'm not paying $5 for oranges if he just gave it away. He gave away 100 for free? That's crazy. So once you become that chosen one in that victory lap frame, what's the most important thing that you've got to show with all the people that are having those interactions with you? Non-judgment. Say that word, non-judgment. Non-judgment. Louder. Non-judgment. Louder. And the other one is called discretion. Say that. Discretion. Again. Discretion. Again. Discretion. Okay, and the other one is make it normal. Just say that.
Make it normal.
Make it normal. Say that.
Make it normal.
Again.
Make it normal.
Again.
Make it normal.
Okay, another one you could say is anticipated positive. Say anticipated positivity. Say that.
Anticipated positivity.
Again.
Anticipating positivity.
Again.
Anticipating positivity.
So basically, I'm trying to show you here like the vortex of massive swag. Like the full swag tornado. Okay, so you're at a point now where the energy is coming out of you. You have that chosen one vibe, not literally the chosen one, just as a joking expression. People love to cut what I'm saying, like, do you seriously think that? No. But as a joking expression, that victory lap frame, and then what winds up happening is that people are just throwing things at you, left and right. You're getting free seats, you're getting free first class upgrades, people are dating you, you're being dragged off the closets. You're like, I don't want to go in the closet. You're getting dragged off. You know, you meet someone, they're dragging you off the closet, and their friend's dragging you off the closet. You're like, this is crazy. Why? Why? But what happens is because you're non-judgmental, discretion, and what happens is it's normal to you. As soon as you're like, whoa, this is crazy, what happens? No buenos. It shows that you weren't really that person. So it's complete normalcy. It's as you learn to carry yourself like this that you get good. And that's what I'm saying is you can focus on just the one person and whinge and whinge and whinge about your looks and your money, or you can begin to reclaim that energy, reclaim mental capital from complaining about being at the effect. Reclaim mental capital by looping on your shortcomings. Reclaim mental capital by begging and pleading for that validation. Reclaim mental capital by being totally focused on what people think. You'll manifest whatever it is you focus on. I need approval. I need approval. They don't approve. They don't approve. I got to self-qualify. I got to self-qualify. It's skewing the buyer-seller dynamic. It's a sale, not opportunity, and you're done. That's it. So this is reclaiming swag. And this is where you get in the vortex. Now, you add on this a little touch of social media as a follow-up. You add on this a great place to invite somebody to. You add on this some great logistics. Wow. Ho, ho, ho. Things get crazy. But here's the enemy. Addiction. Addiction, 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 addiction to looping on your negative traits, to looping on that person that only one person that's perfect for you. It's an addiction. It's a way to beat yourself up. See, even as I'm speaking, there's a informational transmission, but there's also meant to be an intention of a energetic transmission. Do you notice that when I start speaking about very high paradigm concepts, you can feel it in your body a little bit? Can anybody here feel that in your body? You start getting present like you're meditating, like almost like if you meditate for 20 minutes, you're like, you know, like you start to feel like that. But then when I talk about the fear things, then that goes away for a sec. So, you know, whatever's looping in the mind, whether it's love and expansion and giving, or whether it's fear, that is just taking root in your psyche and in your soul. So this is the idea where instead of obsessing over one person, you say, okay, I'm gonna go out and meet a lot of people. I'm not gonna obsess over one person. I'm gonna get the skill. I'm gonna work on this. I'm gonna look at my belief systems. I'm gonna look at how present to the moment I am. I'm gonna look at my ability to amuse myself. I'm gonna look at passions, hobbies, things to do. I'm gonna look at the ability to go out and meet new people, to engage in conversations, to get into cool parties, to learn about cool places to go. I'm gonna work on that. I'm not just gonna obsess over another person, I'm gonna work on myself. And myself doesn't mean you just build your business at home with build it and they will come mentality like Field of Dreams. It doesn't mean to be that mean mugging person on steroids at the club, mad at life because you thought steroids would make people just chase you, and then now you see some regular person, like some little leprechaun guy running around the club having fun, and then you can't figure out why, and then you're mad, because a lot of these big jack dudes just stare at me glaring, because they're like, I thought I would just get that. I thought I'd get this. How does he have this? He doesn't even have a 15-inch bicep. He's bald. It didn't work. Why'd I take steroids? They get mad. I deal with it. So, you know, but you want to be the person that people are getting mad at for those reasons. Because it means you're winning, and it actually messes them up a little bit. It kind of triggers them. It makes them question their own decisions. But ideally, when you're being triggered and you're questioning your own decisions, ideally what you do is you make better decisions. A lot of people couldn't listen to the seminar. They're like, no, 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 no. They're trapped. Spiritual bondage. Spiritual slavery to smallness, to attachment, to negative self-talk, to the addictive emotions, and emotions are more addictive than heroin, of being negative, and stress. Rather than things being easy, notice that things are easier. Read the Tao Te Ching. There's an ease to letting go, an ease to opening up psychologically. Almost any problem you have can be solved with just easiness. Because what we do is we do 10 million frickin' things when we should just do one thing, right? Let me obsess over this one person more and more and more. Let me have negative self-talk more and more and more. Let me look up people better than me and obsess with that more and more and more. Or just start going out. Just start going out and have some fun. Do the one thing that would make a difference. Oh, let me sit here looking at TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, dumb crap, media, bad news, blah, blah, or build your business. Just do that. Just do the one thing. Imagine if you reclaimed all that time and just rebuilt your business. But mainstream media, toxic food, drug, alcohol, all that, improper use of it for sure. What it's doing is it's an addiction to being small. You all know right now, look, I'm gonna just describe this in blunt detail. You all know right now that whenever you go to do the thing that you know you should, you know that that's the trail because it either scares you or because you get distracted. I can send you people bashing each other, people crap talking each other, people gossiping. You'll immediately look at that. And you'll resonate. And you'll eat it like poop. Your face will be covered in brown. But as soon as I send you something that would change your life, just for 30 minutes if you read it, you'll dodge reading it. You'll feel like you need to take a nap. You won't be able to focus on it. That's what it means when it says you can't resonate with something, by the way. It's that the energy in your body is not a match for the high paradigm positivity and expansion and presence of that thing that you're reading. So you can't even absorb it. That's why you could send a recording of this to a friend. If they're too addicted to negativity, they cannot see it, or if they do, it will be through a filter of suspicion, negativity, and badness. Because their brain is so addicted to negativity, there's entire channels like this where people feed poop. It's like a vampiric poop eating feeding. Imagine a bunch of vampires like just eating like that, and they just do it. There's entire channels like this. Millions of views. You know a channel's awesome when it doesn't have that kind of views. Because the average person cannot think at this paradigm. They're too addicted to smallness. They're like crack addicts. They're hiding. They're crackheads. So you give them crack, they're going to start puffing it down. But you give them something helping them? No. They can't feel it. They're too disconnected from those emotions. They couldn't even watch it. Look, I'm going to be real with you. Most of my best friends I grew up with, they can't watch this content. Wouldn't you at least watch it out of curiosity, even if you didn't like it? You grew up with somebody like, well, let's just see what he's saying. I'm just curious. Like, what's this guy saying that I grew up with? They can't, most of them. Why? They can't resonate with it. Just the truth. Ask the most self-help gurus. Do your parents watch your content? They can't. They can't do it. Because they can't resonate with it. It's invisible to them. It is literally invisible to them. They do not have the eyes to see. You ever heard that expression? Do you have the ears to hear? Is that the word? It's from Kabbalion, right? Do you have the eyes to see? It's the, what is it? Yeah, do they have the eyes to see? It's from Kabbalion. There's great quotes about it in Kabbalion. Okay? Let's see if I can actually get this for you. It's called the lips of wisdom. Yeah.
Lips of wisdom are sealed to all but the ears of understanding.
Yeah, lips. Check this out. The lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding. When the pupil is ready to receive the truth, then this little book will come to him or her. Such is the law. The law of attraction will bring lips and ear together, pupil and book in company. Now, see, what's funny is that sounds like very cool, and like what I'm saying is like less mysterious, but it's the same thing. I'm just decoding that for you. Basically, if you're just hella negative, you just get distracted and annoyed and unable to focus on anything like that. It's like trying to focus on like advanced calculus, where you look at it and you could recognize there's something there, but it's just kind of like, what is that? I don't look at this. And you get that for high paradigm content. By the way, the whole little guru shtick is basically taking ultra high paradigm ways of thinking, but then kind of ham-fisting it in your brain. That's really what we're trying to do here, isn't it, over the next couple of days? We're trying to get you off the crap, off the crack, and thinking proactively is the key essence of everything that we're doing here, okay? So let's bring back some of these OG principles here now. The strongest position to be in socially is one where you are chosen, one where you're an opportunity, and one where somebody acts quickly. But let me give an example. Like, say that any of you guys decide to do business with me. You decide quickly. Later, if I said, hey, I want to join your company for $5 an hour, would you say yes? Of course. Let's say you meet somebody romantically, and things just get hot and heavy really quickly. And you're already somebody who they're so into that happened quickly. If you turn back around and say, I'm willing to just not see anybody else and just you, that's, in many cases, not all, but many, like they won the lottery. So people think that they need to do this kind of weird positioning where they position themselves as what's called a provider. There's a great distinction in a lot of evolutionary books. They call it lover versus provider. You ever heard that? Lover versus provider. And what it means is some people need to bring more to the table and sweeten the deal, and others do not. But the problem is, by bringing more to the table and sweetening the deal, you wind up getting used. You wind up getting used for your time, used for attention, you get used for money, you get used for favors. And so what you do is you go in this weird loop where what happens is you over-invest and you get over-leveraged and you can't walk away from the sunk cost. Say the word sunk cost bias. Louder. Louder. Say the word over-investment. Again. Again. So what happens is you just get over-invested and you don't want to lose the person. You've been putting all your eggs in one basket. Okay, we have a natural thing, even from prehistoric times, where if you build a whole cave, you don't just walk away from it because you put energy and time into building the cave. Oh, you can't build a cave. You build a little fort in the cave, I mean. Right? Or likewise, say you killed an animal, you hunted down an animal, you don't hunt it and walk away. That's the problem with we have it hardwired into us not to walk away from that which we are invested in. Otherwise, we would just walk around, kill an animal, walk away. Build some cool place to live, walk away. We'd run out of energy and die from starvation. So we wind up overvaluing that which we have invested in. Again, we overvalue that which we've invested in. Go for it. Let's do it together. We overvalue that which we invested in. And so this is even the case where, like, a lot of the free videos that I give away, people can't absorb them because they're free. Believe me, you see someone come and take a training, they're not messing around. You go look under the comments under, say, I don't know, an Instagram Live. It's like craziest comments you've ever seen. Gossip, dumb stuff, pointless stuff. Now all of a sudden, maybe you go to a video that's very long, a free video, but it's very long. Less of that. Come out to a free event. Less of that. You go into a paid program, you think anybody's in there gossiping? They just want to go right to the promised land. That's all they want. You're like, hey, let's do some gossip. They're like, I didn't pay for that, so no. Even things like the airport lounge, like you can buy like the Virgin Lounge. You pay just $500 to get access to the Virgin Lounge of the airport. It's almost not different from the regular airport at all. But you go in there, you don't have the kid puking, you don't have the guy acting the fool, you don't have the woman screaming. None of that. People are just chill. All that it is, all the Virgin Lounge is like a grapefruit, a piece of toast, and the fact that everybody paid $500. You're paying to have a screen and a filter to get rid of the riffraff. In life, you go, like anybody that would ever take a paid program with me, why are they doing it? It's to get rid of the riffraff. It's to get the best people. It's to get the most committed people. I could sit there with somebody on a paid program and I could work with them until noon the next day. But if I'm at a free event, it could be a 2-day free event. Day 1, 200 people. Day 2, 150 people. You never see that at a paid event. Never. Nobody ever leaves. They're invested. But the question is, are you investing in other people too much and you're in a weird loop where you're over-investing and over-investing and over-investing and over-investing, going crazy, or are you laying back and allowing people the space to do what?
Invest in you.
Invest in you. And so the whole idea of being the chosen one is that you pull back all that investment in obsessing over validation, obsessing over approval, and you double down on who? 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 Okay, it's called invest in yourself. Say that. That's what it is. You take that back and you invest in yourself. So That self-investment is massive. It also means that you value your time. Say the word, my time has value.
My time has value.
Again.
My time has value.
Again.
My time has value.
Again.
My time has value.
Great. So what do we do? The next principle. With that time. Repeat after me. Field experience. Again. 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 Okay, another word is reference experiences. Say that. Okay, say field experience is king. Again. 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 Great. So the idea of field experience is king is this idea that rather than sitting there over-investing in validation and approval and all this, you just go get real-life reference experiences. And you tweak things. Oh, I'm coming across better. I'm coming across worse. This is good. This is bad, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you get all this field experience. And what winds up happening is you learn all of these different social skills. It gets crazy. So you take the time back from obsessing over the person and worrying about your height you can't control, worrying about your looks. Go make as much money as you can or be as good looking as you can, but you're not ruminating on it for self-attack and being small. Then what you do is you take that back and you go and you practice and you wind up getting better. And just like a musical instrument, you will get better socially. Just like if I bring Dylan up, how much better did Dylan, my son, get better at public speaking from one session? See how quick it comes? A lot of that's the foundations that I laid. That's why I say sometimes you're hard case, sometimes you're not. Depends on the foundations. People get weird about that. They're like, why does he say, somebody could be a harder case? Is that dissuading them from trying harder, or are they lowering their standards? No, I'm not saying that. But clearly when my kid comes up and smashes it in like half an hour, what would take most kids months, that's some of the foundations that the parents lay down. So if you have some rough foundations, make haste, but gradually. Gradually make haste, okay? If I found out that I had a different son that I didn't know about, and that could totally be the case, and then what happened was he came and his parents had messed him up, I wouldn't expect him to get good in half an hour. But I'd still apply consistent pressure, still take massive action, and eventually he'll get it. But I wouldn't start yelling at him if he didn't get it right away. If you're a harder case, don't yell at yourself for not getting it right away, but gradually make frickin' haste. Get there faster. Learn faster. Say that word, learn faster. Learn faster. Again. Learn faster. Again. Again. In other words, you're not getting enough social experience under your belt. You don't have enough reference experiences. People are like, well, I went out with these 3 times. That's too slow. In an average night, I could have met 50 people if I'm just working on something. Then again, and again, and again, and again, and again. You can sense that in my demeanor, just the way that I'm carrying myself, that I'm an action taker. Say the word massive action. Massive action. Again. Massive action. Again. Massive action. Again. Massive action. Say get results faster. Say that. Get results faster. Again. Get results faster. Again. Get results faster. All right, why do we say this? Because if you hold yourself to a slow standard, it takes frickin' forever, and then you dwell on crap, and you blow your money on discretionary spending, okay? People that are successful don't burn their cash on stuff. They burn it on investment, self-investment. They don't just burn their time on gossip and crap. They put it on things that will get them there faster. They are laser focused on the result, and yet they enjoy the process and are not beating themselves up, or if they do it in a healthy way, as healthy feedback. So this is the idea of field experience is king. You just got to do it, okay? Now, the next frame is the idea of the social experiment lab. And what that means is that you're not coming from a frame that every rejection is this destruction of your ego. In other words, you have what's called the rejection paradigm. Say that.
Rejection paradigm.
And then say the word, see how you feel lower energy when you say a bad thing? That's what I was saying to you. And then say the word momentum paradigm.
Momentum paradigm.
Again. Momentum. Again. Momentum paradigm. Again. Momentum paradigm. Out of curiosity, what is momentum fueled by? Action. What did I just say? Massive action. Say that again. Massive action. Again. Massive action. Loud. Massive action. Great. So yeah, it's fueled by massive, 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 massive action. So in other words, you just say to yourself, I'm going to get out there, I'm going to meet a ton of people, I'm going to get a ton of reference experiences, and it's amazing just how much time you have when you stop looking at crap TV, social media, gossip, trash talk, stop putting bad things in your body that are poisoning you, things in your mind that are poisoning you, wasteful thoughts, dwelling on things that you cannot control, even if it is true and you've had a hard time. gradually make haste, and so on and so forth. You already know that if you started resonating with higher level ideas and just focus on that, focus on getting feedback, you don't view rejection as bad, you view it as momentum building, you view it as reference experience enhancing, you view it as a social experiment lab. Say the word social experiment lab, say that. Social experiment. Louder. Social experiment. And louder. Social experiment. Okay, you view it as social experiment lab. What's gonna happen? Look, be aware that you're always making sure people are comfortable. Be aware that an interaction is always with consent. Be aware that people are having fun and check in with them. Always. Always check in people's comfort level. But a rejection, which you may view as a bruise to your ego and is diminishing you, is actually enhancing you because it's gaining reference experience. On the other side of that fear of rejection is glory. On the other side of that caring about your ego, letting that go, was the quote from the Bible that Ibrahim read as the wrong one the first time. Okay? That's what it meant. What it meant was, you know, when they say like the meek shall inherit the earth, it's basically this idea, you don't have this massive ego and sets of attachments. You could just go out and have fun meeting people. If it doesn't go so well, it's just a social experiment lab. It's the joy of life, sharing positivity. That's it. I view it like when I go out, no matter who I'm meeting, it's building momentum. It's amazing to build momentum, isn't it? Amazing to build momentum. Amazing to take massive action. So I'm viewing it from that paradigm. And I'm having fun. Somebody doesn't give me validation or approval, I find it funny. I say, who would have the courage to do that? I say 1,000 out of 10. I find something funny about it and I move to the next interaction. What is that paradigm again? I'm gonna give it to you. I find something funny about it. I say, who would have the courage to do that? Especially sober. And I say 1,000 out of 10. In my nervous system. In my nervous system. See, if I tell most of you to say 1,000 out of 10, like try saying 1,000 out of 10.
1,000 out of 10.
Try saying it by yourself right now.
1,000.
Okay, I'm gonna have him say it, sorry.
1,000 out of 10.
See that? 1,000 out of 10. Now I have speakers in this case. But look, 1,000 out of 10.
1,000 out of 10.
Now when he did it hard, he blinked. I teach that in other videos, where when something's out of your comfort zone, you have a compulsive blink. I'll go in that later, tomorrow, or at some point. So basically what it is in your nervous system. You believe it. So now you want to go and meet a ton of new people. So this is this idea that when you're doing this, you're moving out of what's called the scarcity frame, and you're moving into something called the abundance frame, okay? You're moving out of scarcity and into abundance. Say the word abundance. Abundance. Again. Abundance. Again. Abundance. Again. Abundance. Okay? So when you feel fear, that's the sign that that's what you should do. Obviously be aware how you're making somebody else feel. Always has to be win-win. But you're just putting yourself out there in a positive way. You can take it or leave it. And so going from that standpoint, it's ultimately this idea of abundance versus scarcity. And this is that quote from the Bible, and this is this idea that you're either in abundance or scarcity. And what happens is this begins to affect your resourcefulness, it begins to affect your state, and it begins to affect the opportunities that you can see in front of you. Part of the living hell of scarcity is that you physically cannot see opportunities that are in front of your face when you're in scarcity. You actually can't. Reticular activation system, look that up, RAS, look that up. It is your selective focus. Selective focus is so crazy that when you begin to understand it, your mind will be blown. Selective focus, your mind will be blown apart when you understand how crazy selective focus is, okay? The people at the highest levels get the selective focus thing in a major way. People at low levels do not. You know, somebody could be watching this video and be like, why is anyone like that? Because they're selective focusing it negatively. They can't even envision that someone might see it differently. Maybe you see the video or this speech and like it, but you can't envision that somebody would see it differently. It's a major, 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 major issue. Selective focus is massive. Somebody could have a multi-million-dollar opportunity in front of them, but if they can't see it, it doesn't matter. They could have every solution to all that ails them in front of them. If they can't see it, it doesn't matter. They've also got to be able to resonate with this. And if they can't see it, it doesn't matter. If in their body, that level of success would feel too peaceful, and they're addicted to little cortisol spikes and anxiety, and they get that from trash talking other people. What do you get when you're trash talking another person? A cheap dopamine spike. The cheap dopamine spike is categorically different than being present to the moment and expansive. If you're enjoying this talk and this event here together today, and you feel very expansive, that is because you're in a present state. that's being transmitted to you via the seminar. And that is a different buzz. You know, it's like someone smoked weed, they smoked indica or sativa or something, you know? But I don't smoke weed. But it's a different buzz, presence, and dopamine spikes. But when you look down on somebody, you wind up getting a dopamine spike. Now here's how the masses stay stuck. People that are in coping, you're either in coping or thriving. Say the word coping or thriving. Okay, people that are in coping, what winds up happening is they want to look down on others because they get a status-based winner effect dopamine spike off of that. So there's entire channels that you can find where all people do all day is trash people. That's all they do. And they'd even see this and they're like, he's saying that, but really, he should get trash. Like that's literally what they say. And they would look at my content and they can't even see it. They'll even cut this part out of context. They can't even see it. They can't see it. They think you're crazy for seeing it. They even think that when I'm saying that to you, it's like tricking you, you know, by saying like, like they think this. They're brainwashed. But they think you're brainwashed. So it's kind of funny, right? It's like Conor McGregor versus Khabib. You remember that? They both think they're going to win, right? Well, somebody's right. So who's right? Well, from my standpoint, what's happening is they're hooked on little dopamine spikes. People that are hooked on little dopamine spikes they get from looking down at other people, what happens is they get a dopamine spike because why become LeBron James when you can trash LeBron James? What is the faster route? What is painful? What is easy? Why hustle your whole life to build a new space company when you can bash Elon Musk? That doesn't mean these people are above rebuke. There's very, very fair criticism, myself included. But when somebody cannot see anything good that you did, all they can see is negative. They can't give a balanced opinion that everybody should have of anybody, because no one's perfect or all bad in most cases. If they can't do that, they're getting off on the cheap dopamine spike of feeling better than somebody else. Because this is proven, you get dopamine when you feel like you're winning. You get dopamine when you feel like you're better than people. Remember that chosen one idea? But again, we don't anchor that to responses. What do we anchor that to? The flow. And that's what makes it stick. Super hyper subtle point, if any of you can catch this, like this kind of point you'll come back to in 10 years and you're like that, but you can't see it now. The way that I taught you to do this was by having actually less ego and by attaching and identifying with flow. Now, a lot of people that are successful will say, you should have more ego, not less. That is true within a paradigm, actually. A lot of people that have a very low ego, they have low standards, they don't have a sense of urgency, right? That big ego will make you get back on top, right? But the problem is success is up and down. Success up and down. So what do we attach our ego to? A person of action. What do we attach success to? Being in a flow. What do we attach success to? Adding value. We make that our criteria for success. Oh, say we didn't have the best interaction? 1,000 out of 10. Why? Because we did it. Who would have the guts to do that? Find something funny about it. It was still a funny moment in your life. Notice what I'm doing here is I'm giving you the same massive benefits of this giant monster ego of like just total winning, totally the chosen one in this massive success vortex, but you can initiate it anytime in life's ups and downs. I've shown you what, in my view, in my 2 decades of doing this is the formula. Because I would get it where I'd be on some big win financially or socially. We'll call it socially. Call it a social win streak, right? And what would happen is I'd be on that social win streak, and if I had a bad night out, I'd have a state crash. Because my identity, what wound up happening was it wound up getting attached to what? It wound up getting attached to the result. So I get the result for a week or two and then crash. Over time, I had too many highs and lows. You see a lot, you'll see actually, this is a sad thing in the social skills community where people have these monster egos and all they do is attack each other all day. Have you ever seen, for a community that's often associated to men, have you ever seen a community with more gossip in your life? Ever? Is there even any community in your life that gossips more? Any community. Why is that? In my view, what it is that they get these huge, they're people that are damaged and wounded. They get a big ego from getting some results. And they're like, here's my results. Here's my results. My kung fu is better than your kung fu. Here's my results. Ha-ta! My kung fu is better than your kung fu. The false kung fu, the real kung fu. I have no bias in saying this. I don't have any egoic need for this that's super compulsive. I'm not biased at all. I'm just trying to help you with the kung fu. That's what's going on. Because what happens is somebody who's broken and damaged severely finally starts getting win streaks. They need to maintain that and kick others down. They see somebody winning more than them. Maybe they run a bigger business, We've been the market leaders the whole time. So you see somebody running a bigger business, somebody having more fun, somebody has a better girlfriend, whatever the case, and they can't live with themselves. It drives them crazy. Imagine if all that I would do is just look at Tony Robbins all day and just get mad at Tony. That's all I did all day instead of teaching. Like half my content was just, Tony, he got you to walk on coal. Some guy burned his feet, you know. Let's just discard anything good he did. Let's talk about that. And you'll see that in the community of people learning social skills. Why is that? It's because if somebody's damaged and they haven't healed the inner wound and they haven't attached that state onto the flow and the process, you'll know them by their fruit. Here's their fruit. Owen says it's the process, but it's about just the result. Even though I'm sitting in here doing public speaking for hours, running an 8-figure business, having innovated this, I'm innovating the exact same content that they're using, by the way. They just put tweaks on it. I innovated the content, built the industry, built a huge business, have a great life, all my results awesome, but it makes them crazy. And why is that? Because they say, oh, he said focus on the process. That's not about the results, but me, I'm on the result. But they don't have a good result. But look, this is my result, but they don't have a good result. They don't. They have an intermediate level result. So why is it that they focus on that? Because they need to loop this again and again and again and kick other people down because they're internally damaged. And so my fear for you is that if you basically just say, well, if I'm on a great social win streak this week, so now I feel good, but then you have an off week, you get depressed, now you gotta start cutting other people down, now you're clasping at straws. You can't just enjoy and teach. So I made a commitment in my teaching that I wasn't gonna engage in that, and all I'm gonna do in my career is just keep going out. People wanna sit there, whinge and moan, you can do that at home. You clearly have way too much time on your hands, because I'm going out. So anything that is not leading towards me going out and me split testing and me getting more field experience and me getting better at this and me helping other people, no. But that same idea also goes for anything that you're doing, obsessing over one person, caring too much about approval. It is a commitment to continually squeeze the juice out of the orange, to get the marrow out of the bone. You should look at every single thing that's wasting your time as satanic. Every single thing every single thought that you have as Lucifer, if it's not something moving you forward or that you're at least enjoying. It should either be educating you, it should be making you laugh and real fun, not just like zombie fun, but real fun. Something that's enhancing your life, sharing love. Look, here's my life. I either want to be with my kids and my friends up in Montana, exploring the greatest mountains in the country, seeing a grizzly bear, doing some skiing, doing whitewater rafting. I want to be doing that. I want to be kicking up in the mansion, overlooking the city, having a great conversation with friends. I want to be here with you doing some baller seminar. I want to be out at some super dope club, working and doing split testing to bring you better content. I want to be mastering marketing and sales. I want to be mastering social media and public speaking. I want to be bringing that to you. And if you do that for 2 decades, you know what your life starts to look like? I'll tell you what it looks like. It's sick. Okay? It's sick. But that means you can't have it both ways. And it was very, very important for me that I live a great life to be an example. Because I'm not a perfect person at all, but I wanted to be an example of somebody who said, I quit the crap, I pulled the needle out of my arm, and here's what happened. Now I got a lot of headwinds because I choose to tackle some very controversial subject matter. So I get a lot of headwinds. So who knows how that will wind up. But while it was rolling, you got to admit the party's pretty good. And you never saw someone have a party like this, ever, in our niche. And why is that? It is specifically because I cut the fat. I go right at the ribeye. I cut the fat. Okay? But I said the word ribeye, which is a fatty steak, bad example. But I cut the fat. So, yeah, I just go for the good stuff. I'm looking at somebody, it's like, is this about me, like, dating somebody amazing? Is this about me making a bunch of cash? Is this about me loving life more? Is this about me joking around and laughing? Is this about me educating myself? Is this about me doing some super cool trip? Is this about me working on public speaking? Is this about me helping people? Is this about me changing the world? Then I don't care. It's Charlie Brown. Don't care. Ignore, don't care. Ignore, don't care. Ignore, don't care. Is this me chasing validation? Don't care. Ignore, don't care. Just go for the good stuff. Just go for the best. Look for the best people. Learn from them. Get the best mentors. Read the best books. Go to the best places. Just go for the best. Again and again and again and again. Watch what happens after several decades. Are you getting more present from what you're doing or clasping at dopamine spikes? this is a basic seminar, but also a very advanced seminar. I'm slipping in major nuggets. Major nuggets if you can let this land. Because I'm showing you the foundations of what to do, but what I'm also showing you is the deep underlying psychological ascension of your soul, or what you might call your essence, or what, if you're an atheist, you would call you being a badass, right? But whatever you're gonna call it, there's a core essence inside of you. Identify it, recognize it. Identify it, recognize it, act through it. So I'm trying to show you how to take action in a way where you make the money, you get the social results, you're better at it. It actually is the most results-oriented way, but like the Zen archer, where every single bit of focus, like this millimeter is an end in and of itself. This millimeter is an end in and of itself. This millimeter of a millimeter of a milli is an end in and of itself. And you're putting your full attention on it so that every millisecond is a lived life. Live every millisecond as a lived life. Bring presence into it. Infuse it with that energy. Hits the target. It is results oriented. Because you've reclaimed, like I said in this speech, you've reclaimed all the mental energy that would go on the crap. So you're better. That's where you'll see a lot of the vocal projection stuff that you saw me doing earlier when I turned the speakers off. That's where you'll see me coming up with the multi-million-dollar ideas. That's where you'll see me innovating industries. That's where you'll see me coaching the top people in the world. That's where you'll see me changing your life. It is when I have just given up the crap. This gets easier the longer I'm up here. It's easier. Do you see that? It's easier for me to be up here than it was hours ago. Because as you're entering more and more in the flow, as I'm showing you here, you get better and better. So the next thing to really go deep on is, what are the social skills themselves? What are they? I'll just mention a couple of them here. I just wrote down the foundations as I came in here. And these need to be studied in and of themselves. Cultivating core confidence, transcending social conditioning, centering yourself in the present moment, drawing state from within, having a strong sense of reality, who you are, what you value, what your vibe is, what your boundary is. Have it be unwavering. Your sense of worthiness, walking through the world with ease, viewing getting the 100 oranges as not a big deal and normal, addicting yourself to the emotions you want, like positivity and presence and expansion, assuming value, being the opportunity, not the sale, interacting in a way where you master subcommunication, you dictate the vibe, you communicate playfully and free associate, not logically, in situations where it calls for it. Self-amuse, don't reaction seek. Assume positive things, but calibrate and be aware. Get centered in your intention, and yet have no attention or outcome. Build momentum, lead. Initiate. Try different styles, try different methods. Test. Work on your vibe. Figure out where the best places to go are to meet people. Go out, test. And when you get this down, you will see why a lot of my clients are the richest people in the world. And you're gonna see why a lot of my clients freak out and start crying and things like that. You're gonna see all of this. And it's a commitment to mastery. And it's a commitment to the skill set above the exact person. A commitment to the process. Not, George Leonard and Mastery talked about this, not being a dabbler or an obsessive or a hacker, but being a master and committing to lifelong learning and committing to constant and never-ending learning and committing to getting mentors and committing to self-investment and committing to value your time and committing to cutting the crap and committing to crushing it. And there's no guarantees in life, but I'll say this. You focus on this, you take your best shot. And this is high paradigm thinking, because every single person is going to be trying to drag you back into lower paradigm thinking. There's a reason why this is a personal growth seminar, right? There's a reason why that is. The reason why that is because most of what's around you in the conditioning is the fish in the fishbowl, and you can't even see it. You're unaware. And it's so sad. It's so sad. So what I hope that you've gotten here, what I really hope that you've taken from this and received, is the idea of shifting where you put your focus in a major way. This kind of thinking applies to social media. This kind of thinking applies to business. This kind of thinking applies to social expansion. This kind of thinking applies to happiness. This kind of thinking applies to how you experience life. And life can get really bad, and you can get really broke, and you can get really lonely, and you can lose a lot of vitality, and you can just waste your life. Like your soul's been dragged down to hell. Or you can make a decision that I want to have the best life that I possibly can, because you know what? Just your life, right? You know, doesn't matter, right? Just, you know, that thing, your life. It's just your life. You know, whatever, right? Whatever. It's just your life. Just do the vampiric poop eating gig. Just be a spaced out derper. Sit there in the hall of confusion of scarcity. Sit there in the hall of confusion mist of self-attack. Not viewing things as a volume knob that you have proactive control over, but being at the effects. Just your life. Just your life. That's okay. But you know, ultimately, I can't care more than you do. I can't want it more than you. So you've got to amplify your intention. And what most of us do is we sit there and we know it sucks and we can't deal with it. That's what 99% of your friends are doing. They know it sucks. They know they hate it. They know, but they can't deal with it. They can't. And what winds up happening is they're in continual pain, they're traumatized, and they medicate it, drugs and alcohol. They run away from it. If you talk about it, they get mad. They hide from it. They stuff it. You know, maybe that, you know, I think Bill Burr had a joke about this. He's like, imagine you're 55, you know, someone clowns you, and I'm totally butchered the joke and ruined it, but he was just basically saying that you just die of a heart attack, and your face plunks down in some pancakes, and then all your friends laugh at you. And you had a joke about that. I'll try to find it. But the point being, that's what a lot of people do. We just stuff it down and have a heart attack. It's crazy. You ever get so stressed with some of the stuff you're stuffing, you feel like it could literally give you a freaking heart attack? You ever try to medicate what you're dealing with to the point, and then you ever at the point where you medicate it, maybe shoving down bad food, and then you feel so bad about yourself that you just shove down even more bad food? You're like, yeah, I'm just garbage. And you just like stuff it down your face. And this is what happens, and this is what most people are doing. And then if you talk to them about any of this, they get angry. They block it. But if you can embrace your pain, and you can transmute the pain, and use that as leverage to take massive action, that is where the reward is. But you have to go into the burning building, not run away from it. You have to commit to lifelong mastery, not be a dabbler. And that's where, you know, sometimes you leave my presence or presence of a great group or mastermind, and all of a sudden what starts happening is you get to the point where you fall back into the old reality. See, it's all so clear right now, I bet, isn't it? I bet you that on some level, as you're watching the speech, it's like a mild hallucination, isn't it? You're actually cycling and like your brain is defragmenting and seeing what you need to do. And for about a week, you'll do what you need to do. And the cool thing is this video is posted, or I'll post it, so that's cool. You're here and you can rewatch it. That's great. But I'm telling you, create a mastermind group. Get in mastermind groups. Get mentors. Get around this. People will say things like, is that a magic pill? No, it's not a magic pill. Okay, there's no magic pill for your lawn. I mean, unless some poison that would truly kill the plants in some freaky way, but there's no magic pill to make the weeds go away. You gotta keep plucking the weeds out. You gotta take shower magic pill. So it's making a decision to get around people of similar ilk, similar mindset, people that want to take it to the next level, and you gotta raise your standards. Just say the word raise your standards. Again. Again. Say the word urgency. You gotta believe it. You gotta believe it. Say the word get the result. Again. 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 You got it. That's it. So basically the job of somebody like myself is to access that higher paradigm, live that higher paradigm, emanate that higher paradigm, and then from there transmit it into you and also get you around other people that are looking to learn. And that's really what we've done here today. That's what we've done. Okay? That's the idea that I'm hammering into you.